Hello, 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 and welcome back to a very special episode of Bob Talks Tech. Tonight, it's not just Bob talks about tech, Bob's going to build some tech. Absolutely. So, I'm very excited to be here tonight. But as we very often do with our videos here tonight, I want to shout out to a couple of people. New subscriber, Firehawk50, thank you very much for subscribing. I don't get notifications of everybody that subscribes. I know there's a lot of you, but whoever is out there that has subscribed, thank you so much. I do appreciate your seeing the videos and participating in this adventure. It's an adventure for me. I'm having so much fun. Also, I'd like to mention David S. from Oklahoma City. He's a new subscriber today, but I met David this afternoon. He was a seller on Marketplace, and this video would not be possible if not for David tonight. He provided the power supply that we'll be installing in this build here very shortly. It was a good price, and he was a nice, super nice person, and had some other connections of other opportunities that may be coming about in the future. So thank you, David, for that so much. So tonight, I want to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to build this computer. Struck me as odd. But I'm not going to talk a lot about how to build the computer tonight. I want to talk more about the process of putting this together. When I started my channel, it was a encouragement for those of you who, for instance, the other night I showcased a few parts from a build that's coming up. It's a contracted build. It's not parts I bought for myself, but it's very exciting to be a part of that. But I am familiar with seeing videos like that and saying, man, I wish I had the money to afford that stuff. And I don't. I'm not at all. But I like to see videos like the one we're doing tonight because it presents to you opportunities for you not only to do something yourself, to DIY it, but also to find an opportunity to get a savings on some parts to start the process of building a gaming computer, for instance, like we're doing tonight, with the intention of adding to that as we go. So, this x99 board that we have tonight, we're showcasing. Pardon me if I look, I'm checking my preview. I don't have a preview over here, but you see that I presented this in the other video from the other day, and it's got a lot of great aspects about it. This is an AliExpress board that I believe was $62 that came with its RAM and the CPU. It was a combo pack through AliExpress. I believe on the review or the opening box of this I had on my other video, there's a link to this. This came highly recommended by someone that I've associated with and has recommended this, and that it is a great board. The only thing I've done to this today so far is I've added a battery, which did not come with it. They don't ship overseas with batteries in them, which I can understand that it's a customs issue. And I've also ran into a little bit of trouble. And I ran into a little bit of trouble preparing for this video earlier tonight, in that I wanted to make sure that we had plenty of cooling for this CPU. So I elected, and I found that the Hyper, well, that doesn't do you much good. Let me show you the box. Hyper 212 Black Edition has a list of the board and all the compatible. It's compatible with some AMD boards. It's compatible with some Intel. This is a 211 LG8 211-3 CPU. That socket set, and this is listed on the box. But I struggled with this earlier trying to figure it out, and so I did what I encourage you to do: ask for help. Absolutely. There's a lot about this I don't know, and I got help from my own Discord. And in the Discord, there's people there that are so smart and they know a lot more about computers than I do, especially the technical specifics of it. And we all kind of considered this problem that I was having, trying to figure out how this cooler would adapt to the board. And let's see, I want to try to get you guys included. Oh, I did not plan for that to happen. Let's see if this will go here. There we go. Let me give you a little bit of this over here. So that's not super easy to see, and it's kind of in there, and that completely blocks me out. I didn't plan this very good, so I've obviously moved over from the red table to the workbench, and I've got a limited space, so bear with me as I make those improvements as well. But let me get this to you. So going to the Discord, I got some help from a couple of people, and then we were able to figure out by someone who's used one of these cooling systems before, sent me a copy of the manual, and it did show that I had all the right parts for it. The only thing I had to do was I had to add these little standoffs right here, and it shows that for the 2011 setup, socket setup, that you need these standoffs, and you also need these two slightly curved brackets. They apply to the top of the plate of the bottom here, and they've got a offset for the offsets that are on the board already, and the screws fit into the board properly as they should. So I was able to learn by just asking some questions, and a couple of guys that were eager to be a part and jumped in and helped me to figure this out. And special thanks to those guys. I didn't ask permission to use names or handles, but if you do happen to take an interest in seeking out that kind of help, please join the Discord. Those guys are always available, and the response time is wonderful, and they're so smart, a lot smarter than me. I'm here for the fun of it and to share with you guys my experience in doing this, and I'm so proud of the things that I've been able to do in the short time. So with that being said, I'm not going to hesitate. We're going to get into this. I'm going to try to give you, let's see, I got the top down, and I'll kind of explain what I'm doing as I'm going. But the first thing we're going to do is just going to jump right into this. I'm going to go ahead and put the M.2 storage in. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the pricing, because that's kind of it's in the title. It's a consideration in the title. Like I said, this board combo with the RAM and the CPU were about $65. The free shipping with AliExpress, I was fortunate to get that. So then the other thing I needed was a storage. The storage, about I think this is a 500 gigabyte. This cost about $30. So I was able to buy this from AliExpress as well. And for less than $100, I was able to buy this board, the CPU, the RAM, and this M.2 card. And it took a couple weeks to get it all, and the board came a little faster than the storage did. But once I get it all here, then I have to consider I need a case, I need the cooling fan that doesn't come with it, power supply, keyboard, mouse, monitor, and those things. So I did buy everything else secondhand. I didn't buy anything new. And I'm just putting the one set screw here in to hold the M.2. And I have found that you don't want to torque these down too much. You just want to make sure that they're firm. And I got a little bit smaller screwdriver for that. They don't have to be super tight because they're not going anywhere. But there's the storage. I wish that camera was a little closer. Let me see. If anybody knows a volunteer cameraman, I would be happy. That's a little better. Let's go with that. If you have any questions or concerns, just throw a comment in there, and I will make adjustments to the camera, whatever I can do to make this a better experience for you as well, because I want to try to share as much of it as I can with you. But like I said, I'm going to talk a lot more about what's going on here than just the board. So here's the cooler, and this is the fan that comes with the cooler and the brackets. This seems to be a pretty good fan, and my concern also was this is so tall, and I probably got the cheapest CPU case you could get. It's also a China brand CPU case. It's an off brand. It's no name. In fact, it's right here. It's a DIY PC Zonda B. It says B Gamer, and it is brand new. It's a little dusty, but it's super, super light. So it's not made of really strong, super durable materials, but for a first-time gaming rig, it's going to be more than suitable, and it's also convenient to be able to carry it around because it's not as heavy. And if you're rearranging or setting but we'll get into that in just a moment. This was also off the marketplace. I believe I gave $20 for this. So these average 30 to 35 in the stores. Some of them are a little more than others, but I believe I gave $20 for this from another member from Marketplace. Super good deal. Brand new. It was sealed in the box. And even though it took me a little while to figure out how to use it, how to mount it to this board, with a little bit of help from my friends, I was able to do so. So now we've got that. The only other thing I did, guys, it was highly recommended to me to use extra heat sinks. So you see the bottom row of heat sinks right here. There's one here and there's one here. Now you've got VRMs, which are voltage regulators. You got capacitors, and you got a lot of other components that draw heat. With all the components, especially here under this, there's IC chips and whatnot under this heatsink here, but I went ahead and added the extra little stick-on heat sinks just to try to contribute to heat dissipation in this board. This board and this processor represent a service station, such as a desktop workstation. The CPU is not brand new. It's repurposed for these boards, but the circuit board, the motherboard is brand new. So that, and I go into that a little bit more in the other video, but for the most part, this is only about a $10 CPU. And if I'm not mistaken, it's 8 or 12 cores. I forget. I'm sorry, I don't retain that information. 8 or 12 cores and like 24 threads. So it's a beast as far as work. And then additionally, I bought a video card, super cheap. It's here somewhere. And guys, this is not going to get you 120 frames of Fortnite, but it does throw out some video. Basically, it's EVGA GeForce GTX 750. Guys, if you're going to buy one of these just to get started, it's a great little card, but don't spend more than 20 bucks or so for this. If you get up into the 580s and those the newer ones, you could spend a little bit more. But for the first time, if you're just trying to get this thing built to learn and do it, get you something that's just basically graphics. And I think this would be pretty good at 720 or 1080 as far as frames. And it may get you 40 or 50 frames, and it's playable. But you'll have to adjust settings on individual games, and there's some newer games that it would just be a waste of time to try to get really good settings on those. But in the sense of we're trying to get started with something cheap and build up, this is a great opportunity. So battery, memory, RAM, motherboard. Let's go ahead and install the cooler. And like I said, I've added the insets to the risers for this that came with the Cooler Master cooler, and that's what adapts it to make it fit perfectly for this socket. I think that goes for about 20 different motherboards. So, and even in this, it does have a pad here. We're going to remove the plastic. I'm going to make sure I'll do that. I don't see anything here at all. Sometimes they have a little pad of thermal paste. But on this one, it's perfectly clean. So this one also came with an applicator of thermal paste. So I will talk a little bit about this. There's a lot of different people showing you how to do thermal paste, but this is the one I like the best. So basically, I'm going to apply a little pot. Actually, this is a one applicator thermal paste. And I'm going to put it all right there. And I'm going to try to get rid of this because it will get everywhere and the laundry will be a nightmare. And this little opportunity here was brought to you by Marriott. Not really, but this is a hotel room card key that I collected a year in the years past. And I have a lot of these from when I used to travel a lot. But it makes a pretty good, firm, straight edge. So I'm just going to spread this out in a little bit of all directions and try, just like a cake, I want to get a very even, consistent, smooth covering. And I can just kind of drag it all the way across. And it recovered a little bit from there. So I'm going to add that to the other corner. Go back. And you don't want to push it over the sides, but you do want to get as suitable cover as you can, a thin, even cover across your CPU, and try to get out to the edges. This is where I'm concentrating when I get quiet. All right, so then there's a little extra there. I can use this side. Pick that up. And don't be super nervous when you're applying thermal paste. If a little bit gets over the edge, it's not conductive for electricity, but it is conductive for heat. So it's nothing to be concerned about if you get a little bit over. And here, as best as I can tell, you might be able to see on camera a little better than I can, but there's a pretty even, consistent covering of the thermal paste across the whole CPU. Now, be careful, like I said, that's super messy. I'm going to put that in my pocket. No, I have a piece of paper here. I'm going to slide that in there. And now, I've seen it happen before. I've put on a radiator cooler, and I've had the logo upside down. Here's your ports. That's going to go towards the back of your computer. That's going to set up that way. And you're going to want to put the name brand so that you can read it. It's not upside down. Otherwise, you'll make a mess trying to put it back on. Also, always remember to take off the plastic or any kind of dust protector or cover that is on there. And when you go to put this on, line it up with your screws. Get a screw in and then just gently set it straight down as you can. And it's going to feel like it doesn't come in contact with the screw holes, but hold it in steady place. And on the first one, find the place for where your hole goes. and just give it a few turns until it catches. So I've just barely got that to catch. I'm going to go opposite and on the other side, and it's spring loaded. These screws are spring loaded. I'm going to put force on the opposite corner of the one I got in, and I'm going to apply just a few turns on it to get it to lock in. And I believe that's there. Okay, so that's barely any turns at all. Then I'm going to go across to the other side. Just a couple of turns till I know that it's bit. And then I'm going to go to the opposite side again. Adjacent, I would say that's adjacent. Wait till it bites, and now all 4 screws are just barely in. But we want to do this because for 2 reasons. We want to have a even distribution of pressure from the cooler to the CPU that will spread that paste out and make it seam together perfectly between those 2. And we're going to go back to our first screw here. I'm going to get just a couple screws here, and I'm just going to repeat this step. So now I'm just going to bounce back and forth because I know I've bit. Sometimes getting these to start threading is the hard part. I'll go 2 or 3 turns now and across, and we are slowly applying an equal amount of pressure to each corner without overdoing it on any one corner at any one time. If this was a very expensive system, and such as you'll probably, if you tune in a week or so to see me build later, there's certain precautions that I would take. This is a rubber insulated mat, and I'm insulated, but I'm not grounded. There is an issue with static at some point. If you rub your whole motherboard on the carpet, you could do damage to the components in there. The best advice, and this was from a visitor on the site, was make sure that you use a static band that wraps around your wrist and it grounds you to something that keeps that from transferring static. This is not a build I'm terribly concerned about. Static is not as much of a concern as it used to be, but on the $5,000 build I'll be doing next week, I'm going to take every precaution, and I'm going to be wearing white gloves, and I will make sure to do everything I can to prevent any kind of damage in that system. So I'm going to finish this off, because otherwise I'll just keep talking. We'll be here all night. Some of you have got to go to bed. Tomorrow's Monday, and I'm sorry for that, but my videos are so random. And even here, guys, when you get this, and when I say guys, I mean ladies too, because there's some wonderful ladies that have joined the channel, and I thank you so much for that. But I mean that as a general term. So fellow subscribers, thank you for being here. You don't need to nail these all the way down. You want to get them to the point where they're just snug and they'll stop. You don't drill them down, and they'll just get a couple last turns and they get firm. And that's all you need to do, because there's no other pressure. They're spring loaded. They add all the pressure that they need to. And that's it. All right. So for just a moment. Uh-oh. I just did something. I have to be careful what I do with my... I almost stopped everything. Like I said. All right. So I just need to move this. Just going to try to carry that over here. All right. Let's take a look at this case. Oh, I should have put these on too. I'll do that in just a moment. All right. So here's our super cheap, super light case. And it's a DIY PC, I guess is the name brand. And it's back up here. Nothing terribly fancy. It does have a USB 3.0 support, a couple of USB 2.0s, microphone and headphone jack. It's got a couple little beeper lights and a power button. Not super well made, but it is adequate. Another concern I had earlier tonight was, will the high rise of the CPU cooler fit? And so in my test sample, I was able to install it, and I was able to know for sure that it does fit. Guys, nothing fancy about this case, but it's going to work. It's going to work for what we want. Got your cable. There's a couple of hot pink fans in here. I believe they may or may not light up, but if they light up a color, I'm okay with that. But I was looking to make a budget build, and this is what I got, and it's going to work. So, oh gosh, Israeli arm fail. Sorry about that. Cut. Can we start over? No, we don't need to do that. I'm just kidding. I'm going to get a message like, Robert, your camera was crooked after it fell. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. How's that? Are we okay? We all approve? I don't see chat. Is anybody chatting? I don't know if I'm alive. That's okay. We'll get it done. So, like I said, the gentleman I met earlier today provided a Corsair CTX 500. And this system does have a hole on the bottom. So we're going to take the heat from the power supply and we're going to vent it straight down. And when you do that, Corsair has thought to put that label upright. Now, guys, this is a non-modular system. It's got a lot of extra wires. And in lieu of needing a drive bay, I'm going to try to support the drive bay as a storage for a lot of the extra cables. But for the most part, we know how we want to put this in. So I'm just going to drop it in. I'm not trying to get too technical. Some of this, there's so many videos out there to how to put power supplies in and whatnot. So if you have specific questions, I'm happy to answer those. But I don't want this to be all night long video, so I'm going to try to expedite this along a little bit. Is that a word? I just made it up. Is it a word? All right. And, oh, let's look. This case did come with its own screw set. So let's gently open that. Oh, gosh, I just ripped the whole top off. There's everything. Okay, we're fine. But since it did come with its own black screws, I'm going to use those to assemble. Usually these hex head screws that are very similar to one another are the exterior case and the power supply mounting and whatnot. So these line up. Make sure I'm putting it in the right place. Okay, there's 3. Let's go one more time. That looks pretty good in this black case. I'm pretty happy with that. I was pretty sure this case was black, but I had not seen it until about an hour ago when I was preparing. And, oh, that's a little piezo buzzer. That's what will let you hear when it comes on. That's the speaker for the indicator. I'm going to set that aside. I may not put that in right away. I got my little $10 tray organizer from the AutoZone. This is for automobiles, but I'm going to use it to hold my screws because I will sneeze and knock every single one of those screws off on the floor, and we will be here for days while I'm trying to get all those screws. But now I know that the smaller rounded top screws are most likely intended for the motherboard, so I'm going to set 6 of those aside. 5, okay, and 6, there's plenty. And we're going to lay this over and set those far aside. All right, I'm just looking for, make sure everything's right. All right, let's go ahead and lay this over. Oh, there's one extra screw. And try to get this as, I'm going to use the motherboard box, kind of support that up there a little bit for you to see better. Or we can go to the other camera. Let's just see. Let me see how that looks. Yeah, that one's a little far away. I'm going to do some adjustment with my cameras. I think I like that one better. So, go ahead. And just for the moment, I'm going to do one more thing real quick. Move this out of the way. Normally it's a lot easier to prepare your motherboard as much as possible beforehand. And so I'm going to go ahead and put the cooler fan on. So the general rule for these guys is the flat side of the blade that does not have the brackets, the support brackets in the back, is the intake, and the bracketry in the back is the exhaust. Excuse me. In this unit, we want to pull power from the front of the unit where there is a fan drawing into the front of the case, push it through the cooler, and then out the back. So it's an option. You can either put this here in front to push air through, or you can put it in back and pull air through the radiator. Your choice on this is based mostly on where your RAM sets and how much room you have and what you have in the back. For me, I think tonight we're going to go with the front because there's not a lot of RGB lights in this system, but if you can see inside there and see that the fan is running, oh, I'm sorry, got a little ahead of myself. This actually clips into the back of the fan, the back side of the fan, and then at 90s. It's all in holding your tongue just right. No, I said that was right. Oh, is that kept off? Oh no, I just had it hooked on there wrong. So basically, let me show you that one more time. So on these fans, you just hook it in like a little hanger, and then this catches your fins. Get that lined up to where you're happy with it, and put a little stress on that clamp, and it will slide in behind your pins. Normally. All right, so each one of these is a little different, and I'm just being very careful to make sure that I don't bend any fins on the cooler. There's cordage in that one. I'm sure I've got plenty of cordage, so, well, that's still going to have to be used. Oh, I'm on the other side of that. There we go. This particular unit has just a shallow lip, I believe. That doesn't feel right, though. Might have to call tech support on this one. All right. Out of the fan, it feels okay. There we go. So on this first rail of fins right here, there's a little gap in the back, and so I was able to get it inside there and then put a little pressure on the fan, and it stretches and still catches. That is just a little bit different than what I remember. Let me go ahead and apply the other clip on the other side, and we'll make sure, because this is nice and flush. This is something you're welcome to do when you're installing one of these cooling fans. You might practice on the oh yeah. From this angle, once I get the stress on the clip and it falls into the groove that it's supposed to be in, it feels proper. So I'm just going to double check this one. Seems to be in there just fine. I can adjust this fan a little bit. Not too much because I like it right there where it's at. There's the cordage. And almost 9 times out of 10, the CPU fan header is up on the top. And there it is right here. CPU hand feeder. Fan header. That'll go in the blooper reel. Fan header. So, wait, band fan. All right, so this is a 4-pin. Typically, the ones with 4-pin have some kind of color on them. I don't know if there's lights, but this is the blacked out model, so I don't know. First time I've ever used one of these. All right, just gonna get that nice and tucked in there, and I'll worry about cable management later, but I'm definitely gonna pull this sticker off. Ta-da! All right, and I'll put that to the side. Okay, now we're ready for the case. Do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. The only thing about these, I'll go ahead and point this out. You'll notice that this is a Molex connector. If you have an older case, they have that as the power as well. This one has the 3-pin as well. This is power as well. But both these plugs on your fan are your options. You can use either one. You don't need to use both. Knowing that this is a 3-pin, I'm going to suspect that that does not have any color in the light, which is perfectly okay. It's pretty. And that Molex only has 2 pins in it as well. So there's no static color, which when I say static color, that means if there's a light bulb in that frame for that light to shine on the blade, then it would be that one color all the time. It just needs power. And honestly, I don't know for sure if this has got that color or not, but we'll know when we plug it in. It may share power with the fan. But typically on the ones that are more popular that you can control the color, they have 4 pins because one of those pins is for color control. All right. Oh, guys, I almost forgot. I'm going to set this aside just for a moment. We've got our little I/O shield. Just a nice little vanity plate for the back of your computer. And before I fight with this plastic, tonight's special I/O opener knife is brought to you by Kershaw. Not an automatic, but a very nice little pocket knife that I've had for a while. And you can read that. I don't recall what the model is, but very nice. So we're just, and if you use a knife, kids, be very careful. Always cut away from you. Never put yourself in harm's way, and always be careful when you're handling a sharp item. And hopefully there's no kids watching this that would put themselves in any kind of danger with the knife. So, okay. One thing I just noticed is, because this is the first time I've taken this out of the pet. Okay. Just looking at, there's little spring assisted tabs in there. There's also a tab covering the Ethernet plug-in, which I believe we can remove that at some point. Actually, you know what? Let me rephrase that. Let me show you. This is kind of important. So it's very likely, if you see right here, here's the Ethernet plug-in, and here's the plug-in where that would go through. Now this little tab in here bends back and goes up. And you don't want to bend it all the way because you want it to be in contact with that plug on the top when you put this in. And that would support grounding through the case as well. So those little tabs to make that contact support grounding, all these I/O cover plates, all these plugins and peripherals to grounding to the case, which is one additional aspect of managing the power and protecting your system. So that little tab bends up, and I'm going to make sure that it is in contact with that when I put the motherboard in. This simply snaps into place. No lug nuts required. There it goes. Nice and tidy. All right. And I'm going to put this. You see, I do hold this by the radiator, which is fine because it's connected on the motherboard by 4 points and a very strong steel bracket. I am comfortable with that. Not everybody is, but use your best judgment when you're handling your equipment that you've paid money for. Alright, just getting everything lined up. Alright, I'm going to put this back flat for my convenience because I've got to go sideways and line up everything with this. Make sure I'm not hitting anything. Alright, a little bit of pressure on that. Alright, once it lines up with the plate in the back and you see all your connectors through there, they should be approximately where they need to be for your tie down screws to be in place. And it appears that I hit it right off the bat. It's very possible I have the wrong screws. Magnifying glass is really good with this process too. Oh, there it goes. Cool, there's one. As just like you're tying your cooler down there, you want to try to make sure not to get it too tight on the first couple because there's a little bit of flex. And you want to make sure that you go across the board and the other side to try to make sure you're getting lined up. I'm going to have to go to one of these mid-level screws here for a moment, just to make sure I'm getting in the right spot. And I'm having just a little bit of trouble. Bear with me. Don't think I'm using the right screws. That one, that one. Yeah, it does appear that there's a different thread on some of these screws. The coarser thread is for metal, like the case body. The very fine threaded screws are for the standoffs that hold the motherboard down. So 3, 4, 5, there's 5 more. I know the first one was right because it went in really nice. And I'm going to go back with the proper screw. And much better, yep. Just a small variation in those screws. If it doesn't go in smoothly and easily, something that is different, just try a different screw. Or Google coarse to fine thread screws. Alright, so here's the first conflict that I've seen so far. The RAM standoff, or the clip down clip for the RAM, is right there. I'm going to try to sneak in behind it. And in lieu of a longer screwdriver, I'm using a much shorter one. And I found it. So there we go. Do-do-do-do. And I've got one more that's really complicated to find. That would take, let's see, what do I have in my magic bag of tricks over here? Well, what do you know? First one. Sometimes you need a shorter one. Sometimes you need a longer one. It's always good to have the right tool for the job. It takes a steady hand in the game of operation. Anybody know that game? Guys, if I'm not seeing your chat, I apologize. I try to focus on this, not make any mistakes. I'm trying to be efficient with this as well. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and uno mas. One more. And then I'll show you what we got. Ta-da! We are getting there. All right. What do you think? I'm pretty happy with that. So, and for the most part, all we really have to do is supply power to the motherboard, the power supply to the CPU, which is these two right here. And these are coded yellow and black. I've seen that very common. There's an extra one for CPU power, but you only need one in this particular setup. And then the rest are for storage and units. And then the biggest one, of course, is for the motherboard main power supply. So we really, for the moment, because we're not going to be plugging any kind of storage or anything in, we don't need any of these. But fortunately, if we needed, these have a Molex connector that the fans can plug into directly, or they also have the 3-pin adapter. They can go straight to the motherboard as well. So for the most part, let's just concentrate on what we need for power right now. And I'm going to unbraid this. For my own personal interest in cable management, I want to be able to isolate the cords I don't need on this non-modular unit later. And if I do that now, I'm saving myself a lot of headaches from trying to unscramble these later. So now I've got the 3, they're right on top, and then I've got all the rest of the storage ones, and I've got the main one. So the main one is completely free and clear. Let me get you in here. Here's the main one. Here's the accessory ones, but I don't need them all. I just need, I think, just one. These are CPU power. So I'm going to go ahead, just for the time being, make a little bundle out of these. And just like I mentioned before, store those in the storage bay that we don't need because we have an M.2 card. I'll come back and make this quite a bit nicer later, but for the most part, that's a great place to store things. All right, so then main power. Disassemble the bundle of cables that are here in the in the case. Looks like we got USB 3.0. We've got all of our pin button connectors for the top of the case that turn everything on and have little blinking lights. And we got a couple USB ports as well. Those will supply USB data to the 2 ports on top. So we'll use all of those at some point. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and pull the back cover off. And like I've done before, I'm going to throw this together pretty much quickly right now. From now on, it's been a while there, but I will manage cable later. That's a tedious process, and I'm kind of meticulous about that. But for the sake of saving time on this video, I don't want to keep you here all night. I know some of you have had to go to bed already, and that's quite all right. But, all right, so there's 2, 3... All right, so one of these, there's a 4-pin and 8-pin, and for this CPU plug-in, I need an 8-pin. So there's 2 8-pins. I'm going to use that primary. Go ahead and pull that through the back and then back up through the top. If I get stuck in here, somebody call for help. And when they answer, it's like, well, Robert's in a computer. He twists his arm just right. His elbow got stuck in one corner. His fingers got stuck in another. And a cable is tied around his finger. Sounds like a good story. Sounds good to me. All right, there's that. CPU power. Here's the main. Let's see if I can get underneath everything on this one. For being a fairly reasonable budget PC case, this one's got holes in just the right places for these power connectors. Pretty happy with that. And let's see. Let me go ahead and pull more out than I need first. Line it up, get it plugged in. I can always take the slack and put it back. Notice I'm putting a little pressure on the back here because this plug is sometimes hard to plug in, and I want it not to stress out on the motherboard that much. All right, so now I'm pretty sure we had a 3.0 on this one as well. I'm going to go out the case in the back. I'm back in the case on the bottom. Put that in. And very similar. So that was the 3.0 USB. Here's all the pins and connectors. I don't see an audio cable coming from these jacks up here, unless it's hidden, because normally there's an audio connector switch for those to be. Did we have jacks up here? Yeah, we do. That cord may be up there in the top somewhere, and I can find it later. I'm not terribly concerned about the microphone and the audio jacks right now, but I do need these power pins. All right, I'm going to take a guess. Power switch. It's typically, most often, 3 and 4. Well, it's actually coded, and I see the positive and the negative on there, so I know I'm in the right spot. So, if I had a helmet cam, I could show you that, but I'm just going to plug in the power switch for now, and I'll come back and put the LEDs in there for the switch up here next, but or later. And then the last thing, I'm not going to worry about the USB cords like these right now. I will plug those in, but I know we're kind of running into some time. Try to get done with this as quick as possible because I'd like to turn it on for you. Right now, I will get these cameras rearranged at some point. I need a little bit more room. Is that just for now, because you can't see what I was doing from there anyway, but right now I'm just taking the red tie off the case fan cord. And there are the speaker. There are 3 pin headers, 4 fans, one there. If I can and find one over here. I've got the instruction manual like 6 inches from me, but if I pull it out and start looking at it. Alright, so there's the words are so small. There's a system fan. I'm going to plug that one into the one down here. And I may get lucky and not even have to take the bread tie off. Oh, while we're at yeah, no, I'm going to take it off. I had a question in comment in the video before. It's like, where did I get these little lights from that have the magnet on one side and the 3 levels, little push button LED charge. These are most often found in your hardware store. They're very close, if not with the under cabinet lighting that is LED and USB chargeable. This one's made by Defiant, and it is a NCL 10-20. I believe that's the model number. You might be able to Google these. I'm not sure if they're discontinued or not, but they were on clearance not too terribly long ago, and I bought them all. So I've got about 6 packs. There are 2 packs for the ones I got, and they're in my closet waiting for the day that I might find the entire service use out of these. But I've got 12 of these lights waiting for a future time. They last for a really long time, and I'm very happy with them. But Defiant, I have several different styles of LED lights from Defiant. I use them at work, my regular day job. And it's very handy to have both a magnet and a light that'll illuminate for hours at a time. Guys, if you saw me build before, you know this is something I struggle with. Oh, I got it. I got it. I got it. And now I just need to find one more fan header, which I'm more than certain is in here. Jumper for the CMOS. Don't need to clear the CMOS. Hopefully won't have to. Could be. I've got, oh, I need one. Oh, I did plug in the CPU fan, so that's good. And I may have to go back and look at the bigger picture of this motherboard to find that other fan header, because I know there's got to be at least one more in there. I would have thought it was down here on the bottom, but that's audio and USB and pretty sure it's there somewhere, just not sure where, and it's just not sticking out to me. So I will get back to you on that one. The rear light, the rear fan is plugged in, the CPU cooler fan is plugged in, and CPU power is plugged in. So I'm going to be okay with that. I'll find it later. May have to look at the board up close and personal. CPU power, main power. That. That's, let's see, does this graphics card have? So this graphics card does not require accessory power. It is independent of the motherboard, so I don't need those for the time being. I'm just going to fold those back up. And that's plugged in, and I can make sure that hopefully that'll get out of the way. Alright, let's throw the graphics card in real quick. Oh, I see what we do. We actually have a plate back here. Oops. It was a good whoops. It's okay. Everything's going to be fine. It'll be fine. That's what my son says. It'll be fine. So on this one, we need 2. So I'm going to break out the second one. Wibble it just a little bit. All right. And take the screw out. Yeah, the only challenge here is I have a cord from this fan, and it pretty much should have plenty of room up against the motherboard when I push this in. There's a little slot right here. I think that's probably what that was intended for. Work this in to my slot. There's the case. There's the slot. A little pressure on the back to give it support. A little pressure on the front. All right, I think I'm having a little bit of a screw challenge here again. If I find the right one. There it goes. Cover plate. Cover plate falls off. Cover plate goes back on. Cover plate falls off. Put your left foot out. Shake it all about. Oh, then it falls off. It fell. Oh, here, there. Oh, up, down, left, right. Nope, wait, hang on. Up, deep, go. Why are you so difficult? Oh, hold your tongue just right. All right, guys, what did we forget? What did we forget? I apologize for the silence there. I was concentrating. My brain's starting to warm up. All right. Motherboard, graphics card, CPU cooler, CPU power, 24-pin power to the motherboard. Power switch is plugged in. Memory is on the board. The storage is on the board. No external, everything needed. USB 3.0 is plugged in even though we don't need it. For all practical purposes, that's about it. So really, guys, here in just less than an hour, and me talking and talking and talking, we've got to the point where we have a system built. A couple little things that I see. Looks like the fan is off just a little bit here. I can rearrange that. It's not a huge deal. Obviously, we have some cable management to deal with. But for the most part, we have a computer built. I'm going to delay putting anything else together yet because we should be in good shape. So now, there's a power block. There's power to the monitor. And I have a super short HDMI cord. And that's right there at the top. So I'm going to bring this unit over here. Put that in there. That's into the graphics card. We need our standard Tri-AC cable for the computer. And we're going to make sure that the power supply is off. We're going to go ahead and plug in the cord to the power supply. Then we're going to plug it into a surge protected power supply. Okay. Then I have, okay, so one other thing I'll point out, if you guys remember these, this is called a PS2 adapter, PS2 plug-in for the mouse. This is an old style. I especially got one of these just for this build in the sense that it was advised to me that this computer build, this particular motherboard, has a BIOS that you can use a mouse on, but it has to be through that PS2 adapter. That's the only one it recognizes. Once you've established your BIOS settings and whatever you need to on that, you can plug in a standard USB mouse and it'll be just fine. But since I had this available to me, I went ahead and got it so that just in case I wanted to move around with a mouse inside the build, I would have that. It's also suggested that just a standard keyboard works. And the mouse was 50 cents, guys. I found it at a thrift store. And the keyboard, I bought 8 keyboards and some other electrical equipment for 20 bucks. So this, and for instance, this is a brand new, it was in the box. They're all 8 are in the box. Brand new Microsoft keyboard. And a couple of these keyboards had Windows Vista written on them. Yep. And so that kind of tells you about date. Mouse, keyboard, power. I think we're ready. Are we ready? I haven't got any text chat. Have I been missing chat? I might be missing chat. I know you're there, and I appreciate you. So I'm certainly happy that you have come and seen. But this is the moment we are going to power the system up. So I'm going to go ahead and put the power on the power supply. Look at that. Fan comes on right away, and it does have a light. It has a little purple LED in there. So that is spinning up. So we know that there's power going through the motherboard. I don't know why that's still on. Oh, CPU fan is... Oh, gosh. Guys, I guess it's possible I have the jumper pin put in the wrong way. But, yeah, regardless, it automatically started itself. And I saw the BIOS flash on the screen already. So I know that I'm seeing it. There it is. So guys, that is a post. And just for anybody who's never built a system before, when you start out with a system like this, it needs some time to think. A brand new motherboard, brand new BIOS, and the storage already has Windows on it. That's not an issue at all, but it has to learn the memory, which is the RAM, and it has to learn what's connected to it, plug in. So it's setting those devices up individually. It's looking at the keyboard and learning the keyboard, and it's comparing to what it knows in its own BIOS already, because American Megatrends is a supporter for the BIOS. We're not talking about Windows yet. So be patient with the system that you first turn on and give it the chance to learn everything that is connected to it. But already knowing that we see video here from that computer, we knew this was going to happen. We knew that this was in the works. So obviously you can tell I've got a few things on here. I've got Steam. This drive, I put it in another computer and set it up already, knowing that there's something there. And this mouse already works. So I'm going to go ahead and close out these things. So I've got a few things on here. And actually, I already have CPU-Z on here. Or CPU ID, which is also called CPU-Z, which is a basic diagnostic tool for your computer. And that's a pretty good view. As soon as I see that there's nothing really going on with Windows, it seems to be booted. Says sound is off, which there's a few things that still need to be plugged in. But let me run CPU ID, the CPU-Z application, say yes. And I'll just run through the specs real quick. And since we achieved what we need to do, guys, if you're doing this for the first time, take a couple hours. This only took me an hour, and I was still talking. But there's no rush on this. This is a great process. Obviously it's not terribly hard. There's help out there if you need it. But let me go through this real quick. It looks like we have a Intel Xeon V4. It's in the socket 2011 LGA. Looks like it maxes out at 105 watts. 14 nanometer structure on this chipset. Intel Xeon E5 2650 V4. It's a 2.2 gigahertz processor at speed, and that tells us a little bit about there. Let's look at the main board. The main board is an Intel x99 P4 PCI Express 3.0. American Megatrends BIOS. Memory, we have, it's seeing all 16 gigabytes, and right now we're showing it 1400 to 1100. It fluctuates a little bit. There may be some settings where we can get, I honestly don't remember exactly what the speed on this RAM is, but it's seeing, there's up to 14. It's seeing it, so we know that's a good thing. And this was part of the bundle, so that was also good. Graphics, it shows GeForce GTX 750 Ti. Now, the only thing that we haven't done is connected to the internet. There's no Wi-Fi on this board, but there is one more PCI 1 slot on the bottom, and I could add a Wi-Fi card right there under the GPU and use the Wi-Fi, or I can plug it into a LAN cable and get internet that way. So that's most of the time that's an option. So all that being said, come to me. said, free cameraman job opportunity available. Am I in frame? All right. Someday I'll have a preview monitor in front of me, but I was working over there last week and I'm working over here now. So everything went well as it could be. There's quite a few things that are cable management. For me personally, I'm going to make it perfect. I got to get that front fan hooked up somewhere. Worst case scenario, I have a little splitter that'll take one fan header and turn it into four, so I can plug both those fans in. Obviously, it came right on when we turned the power on. So I've got either the jumper is one off, but it is grounding the pin to turn itself on right away. I'll move that over one and it'll be fine. I think we've crossed it with the reset button, so it's getting the power, the connection it needs at the button to tell it to turn itself on, so it's jumping. But I'll make sure to correct that. It's very small and teeny, and there's 6 things that go into space the size of my fingernail. So I'll get that fixed up. Lots of little things like that, but for the most part, without too much trouble and only a few setbacks that we were able to work through earlier and even before I needed some help with, we were able to get past those. But we have a posted system. I will do some testing with this setup. I'll do some benchmarks and whatnot. I've got a little bit to learn about benchmarks. I have a couple I use, but like Nova Bench is good for me, and it gives me a basic understanding. I know there's some better ones out there, but I'll be happy to test the system any way you'd like me to. If you have questions or curiosities about that, feel free to drop me a line, send me a message in the thing. As it stands, there's not so many comments on my videos yet that I can get every one of them. I try to feedback and like and share feedback with everyone. Also, if you're interested, there's the Discord. I believe there's a link in the bottom of this video for the Discord. It's a small community so far. I hope that it gets bigger, but right now it's an opportunity to share many people's talents together, and we've been very open to the new members that come and join the Discord. There's several that are building their own systems. It's very exciting to be a part of that, and I'm happy to have contributed to bringing that to you. All in all, I think this was a successful build, and still, guys, the GPU was almost free, but it wasn't more than 20. The power supply was 30. The case was 30. The motherboard, the CPU, the RAM, and the memory were less than 100. So right there, we're at about $200. Windows is available for less than $20. There are several key companies that sell secondary keys. It's perfectly legal. So don't pay full price for Windows. The download of Windows itself is free. You can have that activation mark on it. You can use it until you get an activation key, which is at your opportunity. But all in all, super cheap mouse and keyboard. I feel confident that I have invested less than $200 in this entire build. Even this monitor is the same monitor that I demonstrated on the video a couple weeks ago. And I picked this up. It's a 1080 monitor. It'll be more than adequate so I was just checking that to see if it would open up, but I picked this up at a thrift store and it was $13. Once in a while you'll find a deal like that. So really, all in all, this is a fairly inexpensive build. You may not be able to replicate that perfectly 100%, but if you're patient and you find the opportunities in garage sales and thrift stores and secondhand stores, like I said, this keyboard's brand new. The case was brand new. The motherboard's brand new. The cooler was brand new. The CPU cooler. The GPU. This may be a basic gaming system right now at that price, but all we would have to do is upgrade that graphics card as a first step to get a little bit better performance. Like I said, I'll run this through a couple games and see what it can do. I'm sure it's not what I'm familiar with. I have a little bit faster system that I play on all the time, but it's a step up in the right direction. And it's especially good for, I mean, this would be a great Minecraft system or Fortnite or some of the other games, but we'll find out for sure. But if a youngster wants their first gaming system and is getting into doing things that aren't super heavy load bearing on the system, this got a great CPU for that anyway. And if we added $100 to this build, made a $300 build, and that would be another, that would be trying to find a GPU, the best possible one we could for about $100 more. This would be 3 times the gaming system it is right now. But as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be just fine. But I'll share those results with you when I get them. We'll have to get connected to the internet. I'll have to get drivers for the graphics card, which actually, if I'm not mistaken, no, they can't be there, but that will help it. Any additional drivers I need for the audio or the memory or anything else, that'll all be there. So I'll do updates and make sure the Windows updates. It's already seen the system, a couple of resets. We'll be good to go. So guys, that's been a little over an hour and about 10 minutes. I thank you so much for being here. Everybody that sees this video after I post it, thank you so much for checking it out. Please give us some feedback. Comments in the posted video will be there, and I'll always see those. Oh, hey guys, there, I did finally see some credit. Retro Vance, welcome to the thing. Sorry we're wrapping it up, but I just saw those chats come in. Dead Horse recommends an RX 570. That would be a super great upgrade to this system. One can be found for about $40 to $50. There you go. So we're only up to about $250. So awesome for that. And Dead Horse is super awesome. He's so smart. And David, who is also part of our Discord and a member and a subscriber, suggested this board originally, and I mentioned that when we were talking about the unveiling. Thank you guys for your help, especially, and everybody that sees this and even gets an inspiration to go out and try to put this together instead of, if you bought this system anywhere else, they would charge you way too much. Even if it had a super great graphics card in it, those are store-bought computers. That's what they are. They're everything that the minimal that you need, but they have probably a better graphics card than what you could get. And that's what you're buying, but they mark the price up. So I just don't understand that. But I'll do some tweaking. I'll do some cable manages. I'll feature this unit later. When I get everything tweaked out just like I want it, I can take it apart, put it back together almost as fast as I did on video. So as far as cable management, making it real clean, putting the covers back on, wiping it down, those kind of things. But guys, thanks for coming. Please like the video. As I'm starting to get more and more subscribers, the little graph on there shows that people are seeing it and showing, and the likes are important, I know, to YouTube, but it helps me to get out there and reach more people that can come and join the process of knowing that you can do it yourself. And it's more important about you knowing that you can do it yourself than me knowing that I can do it. I'm just sharing what I'm passionate about, something I love to do with you, and encouraging you not to be afraid of this, because everything I did there I could have done wrong. I could have unplugged it and started over at any time. Super simple. It's well worth learning and watching videos on how to do this. I'm more than happy to help you with anything I can. If you have a specific question or curiosity or one thing compatible with another, we have resources, we have web pages, great people, members of the Discord that are just awesome. They'll be happy to answer any questions. And a lot of those guys are available almost all the time. We do stay up quite late most nights. I work evenings as it is, so when I'm off like this, I'm up pretty late. Thanks to new subscribers. Firehawk50, I saw that I got a message for you popping in, a subscriber. And David Sharp subscribed today, and that's his username, so that's why I use it that way. Thank you so much, David, for the contribution to this computer. And that's it. I'm so happy. I'm going to go ahead and end this up because I'm trying to make these videos a little shorter. But again, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here. If anything I've done or said or showed you how to do on this build helps you in any way, that's more than ever enough. That's all I'd ever need. But if I do reach more people and we can build a community of people that can help each other, and you make a friend or you find somebody to play games with, that's just even more awesome. Like, subscribe, look for the link in the Discord. If the Discord link doesn't work like it does sometimes, please put a comment in one of the videos and I will get back to you and share that link with you directly. Otherwise, it is Bob Talks Tech Discord. I don't know if it's searchable or not, but we will not turn down anybody who wants to join. And as long as there's decency and respect to one another, members will all be happy and welcome to be a part of that process. So guys, I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to go play some Fortnite. That's what I do sometimes after I get off my live stream. And so come around, check us out, look for new videos coming up. The last video I did a couple days ago showed you what's coming soon. I'm looking forward to putting that together. That's going to be a multi-part series. I may do some pre-recorded stuff on that because I'm going to take my time and do especially attention to detail, in the sense that that's not my system and it's been paid for by somebody that has entrusted me with the privilege to be able to build that system for them, and they could do it themselves, but they wanted to share it with me so that I could share it with you. And that's the kind of community we want to promote and be a part of. So thank you everyone for being here. If I didn't see you in your chat, I apologize. I'm always open to take messages. I'm always available. And I'm just extremely grateful. I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm especially thankful for the people I've met and have shared with. It's been the most fun that I've done for my own personal entertainment in a long time. And I didn't think I'd like putting videos on, but I go back, I go back and watch some of my videos sometimes, and I can tell I'm having fun. And so that's important. Find the thing in life that you're passionate about and pursue it, and then invest in it, and it'll never do you wrong. And don't listen to anybody. If you want to be a streamer, be a streamer. I'm still learning about that. I got a couple of new toys to play with. I got a streaming mic, and I probably use it more for gaming than anything else. But hey, I don't think I'll ever have a podcast or anything like that. But I would like to do an interview on live video at some point, or maybe a pre-recorded interview. It just depends on how we set that up. But to bring you guys more information about what we're talking about here. So guys, that's it for tonight. Thank you so much. Look forward to you next time. Come check out very soon the additional builds that I have coming on. I've got some new tech stuff, a couple stories, and a great adventure I had today. There's a little bit more to the power supply that I bought today than just the power supply. I'll go into that next time. But thank you so much. Good night, and see you next time. Thank you for coming to Bob Talks Tech. And Bob the Builder builds tech. Builds Bob. Bob, can I say that? Can I say Builder Bob builds tech? If I can't, YouTube, please let me know. I'll cut that out. But I am in the market for a yellow hard hat, if anybody's got one, and some overalls, and a red and yellow plaid shirt. If it comes in the mail, I will wear it during a video. I will. Thank you guys. Good night.